everyone, it's me, Satya, coming back to you from the Goddess Touch Wellness Center, which is a women's wellness center located in Gaithersburg, Maryland, home-based. Um, and this is just an extension of that, extension of what I do, which is philosophize about everything. um, and one of my favorite topics ever is the topic of the masculine and feminine, which is pretty broad. And that's why this is going to be our third video of the series, and there will be many more to come. Thank you so much for joining me again. And actually, I had taken a little break from my blogs, or got distracted by life. And yesterday I got so surprised to see on my phone all these new alerts that I got like 8 new subscribers to my channel. So that just really inspired me. So thank you if you're one of those new subscribers, and you're kind of the reason I came right back today to share more. So thank you. And so yeah, let's get started on our topic, masculine and feminine, continued. So I think we'll go more into the conditioning that we've all received as men and women in our culture, and the damage that it's done, and maybe briefly talk about in this session how we can correct that conditioning and to help restore our wholeness. So today I think I'd like to start with the masculine, since I've been starting with the feminine more in the other videos, being a woman myself. So starting with the masculine. Wow, I think this is a huge topic. So I feel like, as much damage as we do to both genders, I think I have a feeling that men get it worse than women, as far as really getting their wholeness stolen from them at an early age. And I don't want to say them, you guys, men are listening to this channel, and I think that's so awesome. So I'm going to stop saying them. Welcome. And yeah, I think you guys, unfortunately, get your wholeness stolen at a really young age because of all this programming. When you're little boys, maybe you were allowed to cry for the first couple of years of your life, but then, and it depends on your parents. Maybe you had amazing parents who let you have your feelings on into, the adult world. But most likely, your parents just wanted to help you grow and to be a man that would be the definition of a man in our culture, who could get along well in our culture. So our parents mean well, but they often, kind of screw us up while being well-intended. So as a man, you probably were told not to cry as a boy. You were probably picked on if you showed too much sympathy for others. If you didn't go along with pranks that were being played, or different things, you would be a scaredy cat. So you were basically supposed to have no fear, no sadness, and no sympathy for others. And that's extreme, but you can definitely feel those influences all around you to some extent, I'm sure, in order to fit into the boys' club. And it's exactly that. It's a club, but it's not based on anything real. Otherwise, you wouldn't have to try so hard to keep each other in line when you're breaking outside that, what a lot of people have called the man box. You wouldn't have to make gay jokes at each other. You wussy, you, another word starting with a P that rhymes with that. All kinds of words that allude to you being like a woman, or, in a really derogatory way, as if being a woman is less and inferior. And it's the last thing you want to be. Like, you could be called anything else and it would be better than being called feminine, which is pretty bad too. So, just think about that. Think about all the years that you've received that training if you haven't already, Um, maybe take that to heart and see how that sits with you. Maybe you like that programming, fits well with your experience in this life and because I also believe that we come into experience things from different perspectives. And so I feel when you're strongly on this like masculine, stereotypical role, um, that can be very real for you. Like if you're the jock football player that, um, pranks all the guys and wants to sleep with all the girls or whatever, um, a lot of us can look at that and kind of laugh at how out there it is, but for that person, it can be a very real experience that they're needing in this lifetime. So, um, I try not to put that down if that's where, you need to be. If polarity is that real to you, then by all means embrace it and learn from it, or, whatever. um, but on the other side, it's hard for me not to have, not to want to change uh, that type or turn them on to something better, to their wholeness, because I think being that way doesn't just affect the person involved, it affects all people around you. Like when you're that stereotypical male, it's not allowed to have feelings and not allowed to be soft, not allowed to not know things, not allowed to be weak in any way in sports, God forbid, um, and not allowed to show true intimacy. Um, you don't just affect, yourself. You affect all your friends. You affect your girlfriends, your future wife, your children, and society at large in many cases, or some cases. And I think when taken to the extreme, this is where violence definitely comes from. It's not that far-fetched. When you raise a whole gender to not be in touch with their feelings and to not have support systems when they go through regular human events. Like we all have sad things happen to us. We have hearts and we actually care. And so to be told you're not allowed to have that feeling when it's real, or to get support for it, or to cry about it, is pretty, I just think, repressive. And it's definitely going to pop its head up in another way in that person's life and in the whole culture, because it's the whole culture perpetuating this. This thing we project onto men and on the masculine, it comes back and bites us all. No one gets away with it, Um, and I want to say that to women, because it's not just men teasing each other and making gay jokes to each other. It's women doing it to men as well. I've heard women tease men for crying, or also make gay jokes, and or give them a sense that if they're not this hero, strong type all the time, that they're not attracted to them, that they don't, they want the bad boy, I think we say. Nice guys finish last. There's all those different sayings, and they don't have to be true. But sometimes those things stick in our minds, and probably in a lot of men's minds, that is the reality for them. I can tell you, from me, it's not the reality. As I'm turned off by that, and I'm really, I don't know, and I love to see guys in their wholeness. I don't want to say turned on. I have a boyfriend, but I find that really attractive. That's a man to me when you're in your wholeness. You can cry, you can show emotion, you can relate to others, you can listen. All those things are just amazing to me, and especially to know what you have to go through in order to be that way, the obstacles that you overcome to be strong enough in yourself to show your feminine side to others. And I'd use another word to not offend, but I don't want to use another word, because I'm tired of the word feminine being offensive. So, because I've heard some people like, I don't want to use feminine. Let's say like the yin quality, the more receptive, or lunar versus solar. But I think we need to just rewire our thinking around that word feminine, and try to take some of the charge away. So what's so bad about having a feminine side? I think we should ask ourselves that, right? I think I went really deeply into the man side, and I'll just continue with that in this video. Maybe the next one I'll do the woman's side, because I'm kind of on a roll here. So yeah, so I think to sum up what I just said, men receive the conditioning to always be strong, mentally, physically, and emotionally, even when they're not feeling that way. That's not true in this certain situation. And so, so they have to overcompensate. So being told to be strong, being told to have all the answers at hand. And I know that's also an extreme example, but I have seen that in a lot of cases where it's like you're supposed to have these like sharp, witty responses to everything, be knowledgeable, and always practical thinking. And in your left brain, everything you say has to make this like logical sense, which is really also brutal to your right brain, the part of you that sometimes wants to daydream or think and be in a more free way, like without having to be up here all the time in the logical mind, sequential mind. Like part of you wants to just be and smell the flowers and dream and create, and you can't do those things if you're denying your right brain, the artistic side of you. And I happen to know that we are all artists. In some way, we are definitely all artists. It's in all of us, no one denied. And so if you've said before, I'm not an artist, or I'm not a dancer, I'm not, any of these things, I think especially dance, because men are really cut off from a lot of those avenues. When I know dancing is in our DNA, it's in us, and it's like all ancient cultures did it, and only recently did we like get cut off from that. So I don't know, just think about those things that you can look at as real examples of how you might have been cut off from your wholeness, and how that might affect you. Also, I want to say that, so your conditioning to me, on the positive side, has given you more room to stand tall and to stand in your power, because you've been expected to, right? So that's been pretty cool, because it's been an empowering experience in many ways, to be a man in this culture. It's like, have both feet on the ground, stand with your shoulders tall and wide, right? And be a presence on this planet. Speak up, be heard, and you're worthy of being heard just because you're a male with a strong voice, things like that. So I think that's been part of the positive conditioning, being able to step into your masculine. And if you weren't born necessarily feeling strong, maybe this incarnation of being a man has been a helpful experience in stepping into that. And maybe reassuming your wholeness. And because I don't necessarily think we were born into the same gender, if you believe in past lives, in our past lives. I was told I was a man, and a few of mine, like a leader man, who traveled around the world. And so that's pretty cool. And I definitely think I was a woman as well. But, I'm obviously here to balance something on the feminine side. And so I think, we can play with that and enjoy what we're learning in our current incarnations. Anyway, so I guess I was saying the positive side of the men's conditioning is to be proud and step into who you are, and express that and be strong, and to also learn how to think with your left brain and speak from it, because I think there are definitely gifts there. I think now, kind of in this new time when the feminine's emerging, there's been a lot of like left brain knocking and knocking of the patriarchy, and sometimes that's connected to the masculine. And I don't mean to do that here, because I appreciate all the gifts that the left brain has to offer. Order and logical thinking, and sometimes, keeping our emotions at bay when it's appropriate, in order to see in a more detached, objective way. Sometimes emotions can get things a little messy, as we all probably know. So it's like, how do we get some distance and some detachment from that to see things in a clearer fashion? If you are using the masculine in that way, which not all men use it that way. They may appear like they're speaking in a logical, objective way, but they're speaking from an emotional, egotistical reaction place. So we also have to be careful not to confuse those. Or they're repressing an emotion while coming off calm and collected. Anyway, the different ways to look at that. So I wanted to say, on the flip side of the positive conditioning that we've allowed men in the whole stand in your power, be confident, learn to think objectively without letting emotion interfere, learning detachment, learning independence, like sovereignty of being. You can be without, leaning on someone else to complete you necessarily. And what else was I going to say? Order's huge in the world, and that, without like our traffic systems and without a lot of our systems, we kind of wouldn't know what direction to go in. Chaos might, ensue, which can be connected to the feminine too, the right brain. It's often in these like symbols and pictures, and it's allowed to go run more wild. So sometimes it's nice to have a container for that wildness. The container is that order, is the masculine that the feminine can kind of dance in. So I want to just give praise to all of that the gifts that we have received. I'm happy that men have been able to really step into that, and because it's been a kind of patriarchal time overall, we've all been conditioned into a lot of those ways of being. And I think women have been allowed to be more of those qualities after like the women's movement, and women became more involved in business, politics, and leadership positions, and just kind of broken free of a lot of the old cages that were still not clear of that. We've been able to step more into our masculines as well. I think joining in this patriarchal time and getting the same, lessons from it. Yeah, I think that should be good for today. We went a lot into the masculine, and into the things that were damaging, and into the things that were maybe positive that we were learning. Because I think, like I said, all of these experiences are just here for us to learn, for our souls to get the experiential learning, not the book learning, and not the someone just telling you all the answers learning. Because otherwise, we would have no reason to come here. Someone would just tell you all the answers about life. This is the meaning of life, and you'd have no reason to incarnate into a body to actually learn those on an experiential level. Anyway, maybe some of that rings true for you, and maybe not, but I just wanted to share some more thoughts, and let it just kind of free flow, and it turned into mostly talk on the masculine. Hope it was helpful, and cheers to all my male subscribers out there, my brothers. Thank you so much for joining me and inspiring me to keep on going. Okay. Namaste.